Assessing the Twins' direction this offseason and breaking down a very intriguing trade candidate on today's episode of Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome to the Locked On Minnesota Twins podcast. Today is Monday, November 22nd, and I'm your gracious host, Nash Walker. Thank you so much for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We are free and available on all podcast platforms. Again, this is Nash Walker, writer at Twins Daily, lifelong Twins fan, bringing you 5 days a week coverage on the Minnesota Twins. Just because it's November 22nd, and just because last year there was very little activity at this time of the year, doesn't mean that that's the case again this offseason. We've seen mostly starting pitchers come off the board, and here's what we know. There's expected to be a shutdown December 1st. Owners, Major League Baseball, going to lock out the players. It gives them leverage in talks. They're going to freeze rosters. You cannot make signings. You cannot make trades. Can't happen with a roster freeze. So we know that's coming December 1st. It's a foregone conclusion that that's happening. So the sense here is that some players are signing before that happens to secure their bag, because who knows how long it'll last. And if it does last until February, which is, very likely, I would say, there's going to be a flurry. And when there's a flurry, what that causes is all the contract values decline, right? All of them are going to plummet. And Carlos Correa is going to get paid. Marcus Semien is going to get paid. Max Scherzer is going to get paid. The top free agents on the market are going to get paid. Corey Seager, they're all going to make their money. And they know they can wait. They know they can afford to wait, because they're going to get $300+ million no matter if they sign now or if they sign in February, because any team would love to have them. And if you can afford to sign them, which most teams can, they're going to be signed for that, because you want them on your team for opening day, right? But the middle tier free agents, and that's the bigger part of the pie, that's the largest part, is that upper middle tier to lower middle tier. That's the tier that gets screwed. And we've seen that in recent off seasons for different reasons. Saw it with the COVID pandemic last year, when there was that flurry in late January and in February, the middle tier free agents signing for less, it felt like at that time. The Anderson Simmons of the world, Matt Shoemakers of the world, lower end, they ended up being lower end free agents, but that at that time were seen as middle tier free agents signing for less and for 1-year deals. It felt like more often last year because of COVID, and the owners using that to their advantage, not knowing what attendance would look like, not knowing what ticket sales would look like, use that as leverage to kind of make a quasi freeze last offseason. You saw a couple off seasons ago with Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell, who were middle tier free agents, with the qualifying offer, didn't get any deals they liked, and ended up signing in the middle of the summer with the Braves for Keuchel and with the Cubs for Kimbrell. It just didn't happen for them, and the middle tier free agents got screwed. The Twins benefited from that by signing Marwin Gonzalez to a 2-year deal, when he probably would have made a lot more had he not been part of that offseason, right? So we're going to see that again this winter. What you're going to see is the middle tier free agents are likely going to be screwed, because there's not going to be enough time, and they're going to be scrambling to find teams more than teams are going to be scrambling to find them, because there's way more middle tier free agents than there are teams, or teams that are competing and teams that want to sign those middle tier free agents, and they have all the leverage. So the owners are going to lock out the players, puts pressure on the players to get a deal done. No one wants to have the season delayed. No one wants to have the season canceled. It's not going to happen. I'm almost certain that won't happen. And maybe I'm naive and I'm just sad if, thinking about there being no baseball next April. I don't think the season's going to be delayed. I don't think it's going to be canceled. I don't think anything like that. I think the owners are going to do their due diligence, take this thing, stretch it as far as they can to get leverage. And when the players finally crack, they'll come to an agreement, and that gives the owners leverage in talks in the CBA. And that's just the unfortunate reality of this situation. It's what's coming. We know it's coming. And it sucks. And every offseason that I've been doing this show has sucked, except for actually the 2019 offseason was nice. That was fun. Garrett Cole signed in the winter meetings, and Anthony Rendon signed like that night or the next day. It was super exciting. Then the Twins signed Josh Donaldson. Super exciting. That was actually a fun offseason, so I take that back. Last offseason sucked. especially for the Twins, who signed a bunch of guys who didn't help and actually hurt. And this offseason is likely going to suck too. But what we're seeing now, and we didn't see last year, is a little bit of a flurry before December 1st. And we're about a week and a half away from the lockout happening. So these middle tier free agents, predictably, are trying to find deals now at market value, thinking that maybe they won't get those deals after the lockout. So you see Anthony DeSclafani sign back with the Giants today for 3 years and 36 million, Alex Wood close to a deal reportedly with the Giants to go back to San Francisco. You saw Noah Syndergaard sign, Justin Verlander sign. Those are more qualifying offer driven. I think to me, Eduardo Perez in that middle tier, signing with the Tigers, getting his bag. So you're seeing a lot of these middle tier free agents sign. Max Scherzer's still out there. Marcus Stroman's still out there. Robbie Ray's still out there. Kevin Gausman's still out there. And they're kind of in that middle ground of, we think we're going to get paid no matter what. And, we want to make sure we get our money, right? And Steven Matz is expected to sign tomorrow. Reportedly has 8 offers in hand. Don't know if one of those is the Twins. Wouldn't be surprised if it is. We talked about Matz, I think, 2 weeks ago on the show. But a lot of these middle tier free agents are signing. I'm going to tell you what that means for the Twins after this word from DirecTV Stream. DirecTV Stream's amazing. Me and my family, we use it. We love it. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone, and you've got your neighbor's best friends login for the good stuff. Well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle, and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract, so get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. I want to thank you for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. We are free and available on all podcast platforms. So what does this freeze, this lockout mean for the Twins right now? I don't know about you. I'm a little bit more optimistic that they'd be able to make a run at a Stroman or a Ray or a Gausman if they're willing and they have the payroll space. Even if it's $110 million, they have the payroll space to sign one of those guys this offseason. So I don't want to hear about them not having enough money. They have enough money to do it. Unless they slice payroll to $90 million, I'm going to be super vocal if they do that. If they cut their payroll to a number that's significantly below what it's been, I'm going to be rattled and I'm going to make my voice heard about that. But I don't expect that to happen until it happens. Under this regime, under this front office, I think that the Pohlads have been willing to sign off on deals. I'm going to always go back to the Josh Donaldson deal. I think the front office went to Jim Pohlad and said, hey, what do you think? And I think he signed off. And I think Mr. Pohlad and the Pohlad family and ownership is willing to sign off on deals. I think they have a hardline number for payroll. I think it's naive to think that they don't. I think it's probably 125, 130 million this year, hopefully 135. But even if it's that, the Twins have like 50 or 60 million to spend. So they have the money to spend. There's a chance they have a better chance. There's a chance they have a better opportunity of signing Marcus Stroman, Robbie Ray, or Kevin Gausman than there is of Steven Matz, Alex Wood, Anthony DeSclafani. Because DeSclafani and Wood are going back to their old teams. Steven Matz is from New York, and the Mets are interested, so you're at a disadvantage already there. But Stroman, Gausman, and Ray, I think they're going to have less teams vying for them at their numbers, right? If they're projected to make 5 years, $100 million, sign that contract, or 5 years, $120 million, I think they're going to have less teams willing to do that than Anthony DeSclafani, who's looking for, he signed for 3 years, $36 million. So I still think that there's a chance the Twins could be in on those guys and could get involved in the bidding on those guys. They should. If we find out they're not, and right now, our friend Darren Wolfson reporting last week or a couple of days ago that the Twins are not interested currently in Marcus Stroman, or there's been no contact, which maybe Stroh is making it clear that he's not signing a deal before the lockout, or maybe the Twins aren't interested in Marcus Stroman. I think that'd be a mistake, but that sucks. And if they end up not going after those guys, not bumping their payroll, I promise you I'll criticize them for that. But I think there's still a chance they sign those top 3 guys. With that being said, if they're going to fill these holes through free agency, there's a reason I never say Scherzer, by the way, because the Twins have no chance of signing Max Scherzer. You might feel that way about Stroman, Ray, and Gausman, and I could see that logic as well, but I think there's a much better chance there. given the contract and given the circumstances with Max Scherzer. What it means for the Twins, though, if they're going to fill these 3 rotation holes, they need to fill at least 3 holes. I would argue they probably need 4 starting pitchers this offseason. And that seems like a ton. I promise it can come together quickly. That's kind of been my argument. Like, here's how quickly it can come together. If you're able to land the big fish in Marcus Stroman, amazing. If you're able to get another middle tier free agent, amazing. And then you can swing a couple trades for a Frankie Montas, who we're going to talk about today, who's I think definitely available, or a Luis Castillo or somebody else, or even just a mid-rotation starter. There's your 4. I mean, you can make it work. You can make it happen. And if you have more confidence in Randy Dobnak next year, maybe you only go after 3 and Dobnak's your swing man, your 6th starter. So I think how it impacts the Twins that DeSclafani, Wood, Syndergaard, Verlander, others have now signed is if they want to fill those roles strictly through free agency, they're just not going to be able to do it. And every day that passes and every free agent that goes, you look and you say, well, if they don't end up with Stroman, Ray, or Gaussman, they're not filling a major hole via free agency as more and more mid-rotation starters get off the board. The Woods, the Rodriguez, the DeSclafanis, all these guys just dropping like flies. Matz, who definitely falls into that category. John Gray's the one who's still out there in that middle tier. As more and more of those guys sign and they don't land one of the big 3 outside of Scherzer, they're not filling that hole and they're really in trouble. And I think in that point, you're not filling 3 rotation holes via trade. I mean, you can, but you're going to gouge your farm system and maybe you go get 1-year deal guys via trade. I could see that happening for someone like Montas, who we're going to talk about today. But I think that the Twins could be left out in the cold this year on the starting pitching free agent market. And it's hot. And these guys are signing for, healthy deals. These are healthy deals. I think DeSclafani's about right. 3 years, 36. I expect Steven Matz probably to be around there as well. 3 for 30, 3 for 36 is probably in his range. But with every guy that falls off the board, it's another guy that isn't a Twin, and it puts more and more pressure on them to sign one of Ray, Gaussman, or Stroman, and we know their track record with signing the best free agent starting pitchers on the market. It is not good. So let's talk about Frankie Montas. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. I love Thanksgiving, all of the good food and treats and plenty of them. But maybe you want a yummy dessert that isn't so full of calories and sugar. It's the perfect time for Built Bars. Built Bar is the new holiday dessert. Feast on something delicious and feel good about it. One slice of pie is upwards of 300 calories, and that's on the low end. Most Built Bars are only 130 calories and only 4 grams of sugar with plenty of protein. Replace the coconut cream pie with coconut Built Bar, or go for a raspberry Built Bar instead of that raspberry pie. Lots of good flavors to replace any pie. There's also nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. Mark your calendar. Black Friday will be a huge event with all sorts of surprises. Go to Built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15. You'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 at Built.com. So Frankie Montas, this is a route that the Twins could go. It would be trading for starters more so than signing someone. Right? They could go this route. I think Frankie Montas, much like Luis Castillo, is super attractive and is 28 years old, coming off a terrific year, posted a 3.37 ERA, who is 21% better than league average, 3.37 FIP, career highs in innings, had 187 innings, 207 strikeouts, almost 4 wins above replacement over at Baseball Reference. We know that's not perfect at Baseball Reference for pitchers especially, but terrific year for Frankie Montas. I think he was really good in the second half as well. And he's moved around a whole lot in his career, so he's not unfamiliar with getting traded, with getting moved. And I think there's a good chance he is traded this offseason because I think a team will pay up for Frankie Montas. Among these 3, so we talked about Bassett last week, and I'll tell you first about Montas. Big-time fastball. His splitter's his best pitch. He doesn't throw it enough. He's already great against right-handed hitters. I think there's a lot more that he could unlock, throwing that splitter more, ditching the sinker, very similar to Chris Bassett. Like, stop throwing the sinker that keeps getting crushed. Throw your best pitch more. For Bassett, I think he should throw his slider more. For Montas, I think he should throw his splitter more. And then for Sean Manaea, too, the third part of that trio, or I think will all be traded this offseason by Oakland, is throw his changeup more. And when you look at Montas, I think he has the highest upside. He's younger. He's got big-time stuff like Luis Castillo. Reminds me a lot of Castillo in a lot of ways. And he's owed just $5.2 million this year in arbitration, a raise next year. He's probably looking at a 2-year, $13 to $15 million price tag. I break this down a lot more at twinsdaily.com. But Frankie Montas, if the Twins were to swing a deal for Frankie Montas, that would be great. They'd have a frontline starter added to their rotation immediately. B, they'd be paying a lot. And when I say a lot, MLB Trade Simulator, not perfect. We use it every offseason, though. Continue to go back. I'm a sucker for it. According to them, they would need to part with a package of Ryan Jeffers and Trevor Larnach. So that's the kind of price you're looking at. I think it's a lot less than Luis Castillo. The simulator agrees. But I don't think Montas is that far off from Castillo, and I don't think the upside's any less either. I think they're both 28. So if you're able to get Montas for a much less price at the same amount of team control, Castillo has 2 more years of control, Montas 2 years of control. I would prefer Montas at his price. I think he could be one of the biggest gets of the offseason, also because the A's are definitely looking to shed salary. We know this. We don't know if the Reds are completely certain. Read that Luis Castillo unlikely to be traded. I saw in a Ken Rosenthal article per his sources. So I think Montas is much more attainable if we're comparing the two, and I think he's super exciting. And if you could lock him in for the next 2 years and then maybe have an inside track on an extension, that would be great. And the Twins, you'd be saying they had Jose Barrios for 2022. They traded him for Austin Martin and Simeon Woods-Richardson. Then they turned around and traded 2 more young players for Frankie Montas for 1 more year of control. And I'd say, yeah, I agree with you. And that's wow. But again, with every guy we talk about, Stroman, Gausman, Ray, Castillo, Montas, Bassett, Matz, whoever we talk about, none of these moves matter. None of these trades matter if they're not supplemented. None of these signings matter if they're not supplemented. If you go trade for Frankie Montas on the surface, I think it's a dumb move. Like, logically, you'd be like, why are they trading prospects for a guy with 2 years of team control and probably, future regulars for you in Jeffers and Larnach? Why would they do that when they're not sure they're going to compete? Well, because they would supplement that with a signing. If you're getting Frankie Montas and he's owed like $6 million next year, that is such a bargain. And like I said at the top of the show, they have a lot of money to spend. They have 50 or 60 million they can spend this offseason. They have holes to fill, a lot of them. But if you go get Montas and then you supplement with a signing of Stroman and then you supplement with another signing of Gray, and let me tell you, they can afford it. They can afford it. And then you go get a shortstop as well. And we talked a lot about Gene Segura. You're going to get right up to that threshold, that 130 million probably, but that's a heck of an offseason. Then you have a rotation of a free agent starter that you signed at the top, Montas with John Gray, or you can re-sign Michael Pineda as your 4th addition in the rotation. I mean, that's all of a sudden it comes together. And that's what I mean. It can come together very fast. Montas, I think, is maybe the most intriguing trade candidate on the market because we know the A's are looking to shed. They're looking toward the future. And I think they're going to tear this thing down. And if they do, Montas, including Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, Chris Bassett, and Sean Manaea, could be the best value trade if the simulator is around the ballpark and if the A's are really motivated to get his money and the rest of these guys' money off the books. Love Montas. I think, again, unless they supplement it, doesn't mean anything. But that would be a start, or it'd be a supplemental piece to a signing they make this week. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Go Twins. Thanks for making Locked On Twins your first listen every day. And I'll make Locked On Bets your second listen. It's your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Thanks again for listening. Follow me on Twitter at NashWalker9. Follow the show at Locked On Twins. Please subscribe on YouTube if you haven't. Locked On Twins YouTube channel. And let me know what you think. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Go Twins. We'll be back tomorrow.